It was the 9th year of my marriage to Ava. Her boyfriend showed up at my birthday party, announced they were in love, and demanded I agree to a divorce so they could be together. Ava stood watching, acting distant and unconcerned, probably expecting me to handle her latest issue the way I always did. But on that day, I felt completely drained. I stood up and gave her a small smile. "I think I'll go to the garden for a bit of fresh air." Ava didn't react, likely assuming I just needed to be alone to calm down. But an hour went by, then 2, then 3, and I still hadn't returned. She finally went looking for me herself. In the garden, there was only a burnt-out cigarette and a ring. She understood I wasn't coming back. 5 years into our marriage, Ava started seeing someone else, a talented and attractive violinist named Leo. I heard a story that the first time Ava saw Leo, she was captivated by his slim, graceful presence, which was described as moving beautifully, like a moonlight melody. She kept this young man a secret, a prized possession hidden from everyone, especially me. But now, at my party, Leo had decided to show up on his own. He looked at me with angry, teary eyes, full of judgment. "Ava doesn't love you anymore. I'm the one she loves now. Don't you feel mean and unfair trapping her in this marriage? Ava and I are genuinely in love. Just agree to the divorce and let us have our life together." He looked so pathetic, like a victim whose happiness was being ruined by me, the villain. I just found it amusing. True love? "You're sleeping with a married woman. Don't you think that's shameful?" Hearing this, Leo's face went white, but a moment later he acted even more hurt. "Yes, you're right. It's shameful of me to love a married woman. You have every right to insult me, but even though I might be wrong, love itself isn't. I just want to be with the person I love forever. I truly love Ava, and I don't want to be separated from her. Can't you just let us go?" His words were foolish and immature, but Ava seemed to find him sweet and brave. She spoke to him softly. "It's okay, honey. Stop causing a scene. I'll go stay with you tonight." The room instantly fell quiet when she said that. She was publicly disrespecting me to defend Leo. This was a level of care her previous lovers had never received. In the past, when others had shown up demanding I leave her, Ava had always handled them quickly and firmly. She had warned everyone, "My husband is Ethan. No one messes with him." But today, Leo had ruined my birthday. And not only did Ava allow it, but after having her assistant take him home, she walked up to me and quietly said, "Don't worry. I won't let him behave like this again." In other words, don't you dare touch him. She was warning me. I didn't nod immediately. Ava looked annoyed, her stare icy. "Ethan, Leo is young and doesn't know any better." She was actually making excuses for him. "I understand." "Don't worry," I interrupted, nodding to agree. Ava's expression relaxed a little. She reached for my hand, but I instinctively pulled mine away. Her face showed displeasure, but I just smiled at her. "I'm going to the garden for some air." Ava nodded. "Come back soon. We're waiting for you to cut the cake." "Okay." I turned and walked away, feeling Ava's eyes fixed on my back the entire time. But I didn't look back. Not even once. Outside the banquet room, a gentle rain was falling. I lit a cigarette. Through the smoke, for some reason, I suddenly recalled the day Ava asked me to marry her. It seemed to be raining then, too. We met when we were 3, fell in love at 16, and at 23, after her business took off, and she'd made her first real money, she proposed. "Ethan, will you marry me?" That day, she knelt before me on one knee, her hand shaking so much she could barely hold the ring. I looked down at her and asked only one thing. "Will you love me forever?" She promised instantly. "Always." I believe she meant it at the time, but loyalty is a delicate thing. At 27, Ava started seeing a good-looking young man on the side. When I found out, she knelt before me, crying and begging me not to divorce her, swearing she would change. But once it happens the first time, there will always be a second, a third, and a fourth. By now, she doesn't even bother to hide it, and I no longer bother to argue. I've had enough drama. I've seen it all. Just like with Leo, Ava treats him differently, warns me, and threatens me for his sake. If this had been 3 years ago, I would have been heartbroken. But now, all I feel is tiredness and disgust, because I know better than anyone that Ava would never divorce me for Leo. It has nothing to do with feelings. After so many years of marriage, our money and business interests are too closely connected. A divorce would be a complicated, unprofitable mess for her. She won't do it. And she's certain that I won't do it either. After all, I've brought up divorce more than once over the years, but it always ended up going nowhere. At first, it was because of love. Later, it was because I couldn't let go of what we had built. But whatever the reason, I had tolerated it for so long, I should have been used to this kind of drama. But this time, I was just sick of it. I didn't want to participate anymore. The ash from my cigarette fell, burning my fingers and making them shake. Just then a waiter came up to me and whispered, "Sir, Ms. Wilson says it's time for you to come back and cut the cake." Go back? I snapped back to reality. A moment later, I put out my cigarette, turned, and smiled faintly. "Tell Ava I'm not coming back." The waiter repeated the message exactly to Ava. Ava's expression darkened. Seeing this, the other guests quickly tried to ease the tension. "Mr. Mills is probably just in a bad mood. That's why he said he's not coming back. You know how men are. Sometimes they need their space. You should cut him some slack, Ms. Wilson. Men need to be looked after, too. Why don't you go talk to him, Ms. Wilson?" Hearing this, Ava felt a stirring of emotion. She and Ethan had known each other since they were children. No one understood how much he loved her better than she did. Today, she had asked him to be easy on Leo, and to get Leo to leave, she had promised to spend the night with him. She shouldn't have said that. It was Ethan's birthday. She should have stayed and been with him tonight. She had misspoke. With that thought, Ava looked at the waiter. Is he upset? Ethan had always been sensitive and prone to sadness. He would keep his feelings inside when he was hurt, and only smile when he was happy. He'd even get teary-eyed watching a sad movie and be too troubled to sleep. He was sensitive and reserved. He must have been hurt by what she said, which is why he made an excuse to go outside and be sad alone. A sudden wave of guilt hit Ava. Ethan was her husband, and today was his birthday. She shouldn't have humiliated him for Leo's sake. She should apologize. But just as she was thinking this, the waiter shook his head. No, Mr. Mills was smiling. He looked very happy and very handsome. Ava frowned slightly, surprised by the answer. But a moment later, her face hardened, her voice turning cold. Then what is he sulking about? He's a grown man acting like a child. If he doesn't want to come back, then fine. Let him be. The guests exchanged uneasy glances, not daring to say another word. They could only wait in silence. But an hour passed, then 2, then 3. There was still no sign of Ethan in the banquet room. Ava's expression was cold and severe as she stood up and walked to the garden. As the husband of the Wilson family, a perfect husband in high society, storming off because of a lover was neither respectable nor graceful. It just made them a laughingstock for the guests. When she saw Ethan, she was going to tell him exactly what she thought. But when she arrived, The garden was completely empty. Amidst the sound of the rain, next to the trash can, there was only a single burnt-out cigarette and a ring. Ava's heart trembled. It was the silver ring she had proposed with. Over the years, she had bought Ethan countless expensive watches and pieces of jewelry, but he had always cherished this simple silver ring, treating it like a treasure. But now he had carelessly thrown it into the trash. He didn't want it anymore. Just then, a gust of wind blew the rain sideways, soaking Ava's silk shirt. She felt a shiver run through her body, but her mind was terrifyingly clear. Ethan wasn't coming back. The first thing I did when I got back to the house was call my lawyer. He was professional and quick, guiding me through the division of assets. After all, this wasn't the first time he'd handled a divorce for me, even if the previous attempts had all failed. But this time was different. I was serious. I was focused. I don't know how much time passed before my phone rang. It was Ava. She was probably angry that I'd left early without telling her, making her lose face. When I answered, her voice was cold. "Ethan, what exactly are you trying to do?" I signaled for the lawyer to pause. Then, in a calm voice, I told her, "I want to divorce you." On the other end of the line, there was a moment of silence. When she spoke again, her voice was much softer. "Is it because of Leo?" I didn't answer. She thought she'd figured out the reason and seemed to let out a sigh of relief, her tone becoming gentle. "Ethan, he ruined your birthday, and that was his fault. You have every right to be upset. I'll have him come over and apologize to you right now." Even now, she thought I was just throwing a tantrum over Leo, but she still wasn't willing to get rid of him. It was almost funny. I laughed softly, then interrupted her in a very, very calm voice. "Ava, this has nothing to do with anyone else." "Then why?" "I'm divorcing you simply because I don't love you anymore." "Ava, you have a long future ahead of you. I just won't be sharing it with you." I finally said it, and it felt like a heavy burden had been lifted off my back. There was a little sadness, but mostly it was relief. Freedom. Ava was silent for a moment. All I could hear was the soft tapping of her fingers on a table, a sign she was thinking. A moment later, she spoke again, her voice heavy. "What is it this time? What are you so upset about?" She still thought I was just being difficult. It was a familiar question. After I caught her cheating again and again, after countless arguments and endless pain, she would always look at me with that tired, cold expression, her eyes filled with deep confusion, and ask, "All these years, my money, the company shares, it's all in your name. Those men are just flings, just for fun. No one can challenge your position. You will always be my husband, Mr. Mills. Anything you want to buy, you can have in an instant. Look at the men around you, so many of them struggle just to make a living. Their entire year's salary isn't even worth the starting price of one of your watches. Ethan, what on earth are you still so upset about? What more could you possibly want?" Yeah, what more could I want? A life of comfort, nice clothes, and fancy food. Countless people envied me. Even my own father, after giving Ava a harsh lecture, gently advised me to just let it go, to pretend I didn't know and just live with it. What was love compared to cold, hard cash? I understood the reasoning, but I just couldn't accept it. I couldn't accept that the story of childhood sweethearts who faced life's challenges together would end with us as strangers in the same bed, living a lie. I couldn't accept that a love that was once shared would turn into mutual dislike. So I fought. I made scenes. I brought up divorce again and again, hoping to shock her into regretting her actions, to win back her love. But the only result was that my wife became my enemy. They say that when you love someone, you want them to live, and when you hate them, you want them to die. I never used to believe that saying, but during those darkest days, I did. Ava, you might not believe this, but I once truly wanted to kill you, and then kill myself. I expected her to be horrified, but instead she asked, "Then why didn't you?" I was surprised for a second. Then I chuckled softly, my voice light. "Because that day, you called me JJ. JJ, like a precious treasure. My mother died young, and my father, who raised me alone, gave me that nickname. When Ava found out about it, she started calling me that too. She called me that for many, many years. When we were young, she would hold my hand as we raced down country paths to school, looking back at me with a smile. "JJ, if we don't hurry, we're going to be late." On our wedding night, she kissed my forehead, her fingertips trembling. "JJ, I love you." The day my father died, she held me tightly in her arms, whispering over and over in my ear, "JJ, you're not an orphan. From now on, I'll take care of you. Don't be afraid." Back then, she loved me more than anything, but at some point, she stopped calling me that. It became Ethan, or just Mills. I thought I had forgotten the name JJ completely. But that night, after I had gotten her drunk, my hands wrapped tightly around her neck, slowly squeezing, she opened her eyes in a drunken daze. Seeing my bloodshot eyes, her first reaction wasn't to fight against her bound hands, but to frown and ask me, "JJ, why are your eyes so red? Did someone hurt you?" I froze. She was drunk. She didn't remember that she had cheated on me, that she had hurt me. She only remembered that she loved me more than anyone, and that she couldn't bear to see me sad. So, after I told her that she was the one who had hurt me, Ava panicked instantly. She looked up at me, her voice pitiful. "Then I'm sorry, JJ. I was wrong. You can hit me. How about tomorrow? I take you to get some of Old Man Miller's roasted sweet potatoes." I had a sweet tooth as a kid, and loved the roasted sweet potatoes from Old Man Miller's stand at the edge of town. But I could never bring myself to buy them. Ava would always save up her money to buy them for me. She wouldn't even take a bite herself unless I forced her to. We were at our poorest then, but also most in love. Whenever she made me angry, she would stare at me pitifully, like a little puppy afraid of losing its owner, just like she was that night. So pathetically, my heart softened. I let go of her neck and untied the ropes. As her calls grew more and more frantic, I walked out of the room and onto the rooftop. Looking down, I thought, if I can't kill Ava, then I might as well just kill myself. But as soon as the thought appeared, it was shattered by a loud whistle that cut through the sky. I looked up. One after another, fireworks bloomed before my eyes. Red, blue, pink, brilliant, beautiful. They lit up half the sky. It was breathtakingly beautiful. Right now, as I looked out the picture window, I couldn't see the fireworks from that night in the dark sky. My voice was very light and gentle. In that moment, I suddenly didn't want to die. I was even glad I hadn't killed you. Otherwise, I would never get to see such beautiful fireworks again. On the other end of the line, Ava was silent for a long time. I thought I had scared her with the story of my past madness. But after a moment, she suddenly asked, "Do you still want to kill me now?" Her tone was very serious. So I thought about it for a moment and answered her just as seriously. "No, it's not worth it." Ava didn't agree to the divorce. It had nothing to do with feelings. After so many years of marriage, our financial interests were too deeply and tightly connected. A divorce would be a huge, damaging disruption for her. The division of assets would also affect her company's upcoming IPO. In short, other than being single again, there was no benefit for her. Ava is a smart businesswoman. She doesn't do things that aren't in her best interest, so she chose to ignore it. Just as she had ignored my pain and struggles in the past, this time she ignored my request, as well as the divorce papers and asset division agreement my lawyer sent her. I had no intention of fighting with her anymore. I just had my lawyer inform her that if she wouldn't agree to a divorce, I would sue her. Then I packed my bags and left New York City. Just before the plane took off, I received a text from Ava. "Ethan, you know this is the most important time for the company's IPO. Do you really have to do this now? After all these years together, does it really have to come to this?" I thought for a moment, then replied, "Yes, it does." The plane's destination was Iceland, where the Atlantic and Arctic Oceans meet. I stayed in a small seaside town where I could see the ocean just by opening my window. Walking further south, surrounded by green grass, I saw the little red house used for eye tests. I realized it was a real place. When the wind blew, the blades of grass swayed. It was so beautiful. I joined a tour group. The guide was a woman who expertly and confidently led us to taste local foods and introduced us to historical sites. There was a young couple in the tour group. They were inseparable, clearly deeply in love. I once saw the boy in a quiet corner practicing his proposal over and over again. It took him 3 days to go from awkward to smooth. Then, at the Pantheon in Rome, amidst a shower of rose petals, the boy proposed to the girl beside him. "Jenna, will you marry me?" Even though he had practiced so many times, his words were even more hesitant than the first time. Awkward, trembling, but heartfelt. "I will." The girl accepted the ring with tears in her eyes. Amidst cheers and applause, she threw herself into the boy's arms. They held each other tightly. Under the rain of petals, it was as if they were holding the whole world. On the way back, the boy went to pack their things, and the girl sat down next to me. She was admiring her new diamond ring, gently touching it when she suddenly noticed the faint mark on my ring finger. She blinked at me. "Hey, are you married?" "I am." The girl was a natural conversationalist. Hearing that I had experience, she became curious. "How old were you when you got married? I just started my first job this year. Do you think I said yes to his proposal too soon?" She was young. Her eyes were full of hope for the future, adoration for the one she loved, and nervousness about marriage. She was afraid of choosing the wrong person, of taking the wrong path. Not like me, young and foolish, I had thrown myself headfirst into a life with Ava. I thought love could solve everything, but I later learned that all my difficulties were because of love. My marriage was undoubtedly a failure, so I had no right to offer her any positive advice or wisdom about love. I just told her, "I got married at 23. I'm 32 now, and I'm preparing for a divorce. For me, marriage isn't about age. If you like someone, be with them. If you don't, then separate. It's better to keep it simple and straightforward." The girl listened, nodding with a bit of confusion, then asked carefully, "Are you getting divorced because you don't love her anymore?" I smiled and nodded. "Yeah, we're sick of the sight of each other." On the 7th day of my absence, Leo had just finished a performance. Ava went to pick him up herself. On the way home, Leo was scrolling through TikTok. "I got married at 23. I'm 32 now, and I'm planning to get divorced." "Are you getting a divorce because you don't love her anymore?" "Yeah, we're sick of the sight of each other." Ava's whole body shook as she turned to look. She couldn't see the man's face, but she knew that voice. It was Ethan. He said he didn't love her anymore. He said he was sick of the sight of her. That was too ridiculous, too unbelievable. Ethan's mother was long gone, and his father had passed away a few years ago. Besides her, he had no one else in the world to rely on. He couldn't leave her. Even though he had brought up divorce more than once over the years, Ava knew that the one who couldn't bear to go through with it was him. He couldn't bear to leave her, and more than anyone, he cared about having a home of his own. The divorce talk, the arguments, it was all just a trick by Ethan to get her attention. How could he possibly not love her anymore? That's what Ava told herself, but a deep feeling of worry and sadness spread through her heart. She desperately needed Ethan's reassurance. So she pulled the car over to the side of the road, ignoring Leo's confused look, and took out her phone, planning to send Ethan a text. But when she opened their chat, she saw that her last message, asking when he was coming home, had no reply. Scrolling up, she saw his message telling her to handle everything through his lawyer and not to bother him. She thought for a moment. She decided to ask where he had gone, but what she got back was a red exclamation mark. Ethan had blocked her. Ava's fingertips trembled. A sudden emptiness filled her heart. And just then she heard the girl in the video ask Ethan, "So what if she changes her mind and comes back to you now? Would you forgive her?" "No." Ethan's voice was calm but firm. Ava's hand tightened around her phone, her jaw clenched. Lies. Ethan was lying. How could he not forgive her? He loved her so much. She refused to believe it. I returned to the country, and Ava herself was there to pick me up at the airport. She was beautiful, with a slender, elegant figure. She walked towards me holding a large bouquet of roses, attracting a lot of attention. "Ethan, welcome back." I didn't take the flowers. Her brow furrowed slightly, then she smoothly took my suitcase. "JJ, can we please stop this?" She called me JJ. In the past, my heart would have softened, but now I just felt confused. I had no idea what she was trying to do. When she opened the car door, I saw that Leo was in the car too. I frowned slightly. Ava quickly explained, "Ethan, I know you're still angry at Leo for ruining your birthday. I brought him here to apologize to you." Leo lowered his eyes, his expression pitiful. "I'm sorry, it was all my fault. Please don't be angry with Ava, okay?" I watched this act in silence. I didn't say a word. Ava tried to take my hand, but I pulled away. She sighed, seemingly helpless, and offered a compromise. "If you don't like him, I'll break up with him. How about that?" At these words, Leo's face went white. He stared at Ava in disbelief, but I refused. "No need. Young people have their advantages." Ava was stunned. "What?" Just as she spoke, a young woman tapped on the car window. Seeing me, she slid right into the seat next to me, took my hand, and held her fingers intertwined with mine. "There you are. How could you just leave me behind?" Before I could speak, Ava's expression changed, her gaze turning dark as she stared at the girl's hand on mine. "And who might this be?" The girl looked back at her, then at me. "This is the future ex-wife." I nodded. The girl beamed, her youthful energy so bright it was almost blinding. "Hello, future ex-wife. I'm Chloe. I'm his little bit on the side." Her gaze was frighteningly bold. Leo frowned in disgust. "How can you be so shameless?" At this, Chloe rolled her eyes, annoyed. "What's the problem? Aren't you the future ex-wife's bit on the side too? What's with the double standard? Besides, if anyone should be judging, it's me judging you." You're sleeping with a married woman. You're pathetic, you're disgusting, and you have no shame." Her words completely defeated Leo. He could only stand there, pale-faced and red-eyed, trembling with anger, looking sadly at Ava, hoping she would defend him as usual. But Ava didn't even glance at him. "Let's go home first," I spoke up. "Take me to my apartment." That was where I was staying now. Chloe had insisted on coming back with me and had nowhere to go, so she was staying at my place. But Ava gripped the steering wheel tightly. "Let's go to our house. I want to talk." It wasn't a question. I frowned in annoyance, but seeing the look on Ava's face, I nodded. Fine. Back at the mansion, the layout was just as I had left it. It was a bit of a mess. After all, when I left, I had taken everything of value I could carry. Ava's first words were an intense question. "Who is she?" I raised an eyebrow. "My bit on the side. Didn't you used to say you couldn't accept an open marriage? And now you've found yourself a young woman. Have you been having fun with her all this time?" Ava's brow tightened. She looked up at me, a careless smile on her lips, but her eyes were cold. I looked at her and laughed. "It's been great. Young people have a lot of energy." My honesty stopped her passive-aggressive remarks. I was getting impatient. "Ava, is this what you wanted to talk about? If so, I'm not staying. She's young and has nightmares when she sleeps alone. I'm going to keep her company." Those words shouldn't have been unfamiliar to Ava. Once upon a time, she had said the same thing to me. Ava clearly remembered that past incident, too. Her face turned extremely ugly, but the next second she looked at me, suddenly took 2 steps closer, and looking up at me, smiled. "Ethan, let's both end things with them and start over, okay? You're the one I love." I pushed her away, looking down at her wearily. "You don't love me. You're just upset because someone who wasn't supposed to leave suddenly did, and it hurt your pride. You've always had this strong need for perfection. When you were a kid, if a corner of your cookie broke off, you'd rather go hungry than eat it. Now you'd rather find one lover after another on the side just to keep me around and protect your perfect marriage. After all these years, I knew her better than anyone. I knew her coldness, her selfishness. She was tired of me, but she couldn't stand the thought of someone else having me. That wasn't love. It was her arrogance. Ava, you're genuinely unwell. You should get help." Ava left in distress, but the next day she was at my door again. She wanted to drive me to and from work. I didn't refuse. Until the divorce was final, we were still the image of a respectable high society couple. Ava became increasingly attentive, reporting everything she did to me. Text after text. I didn't read them, let alone reply. People at the company called me Mr. Mills when they saw me. They knew who I was. I had no interest in a standard 9-to-5 job. Now that I had money, I had no desire to work myself to the bone. I held a title with no real duties and only had to show up at the company, occasionally. My close friend Mike worked at the company, which is how I knew about Leo in the first place. This time, when I came in, Mike saw Ava constantly popping into my office and asked if she had finally realized what she was doing. I scoffed. I invited him to dinner after work. After Mike agreed, I texted Ava to tell her she didn't need to pick me up. "I'll pick you up when you're done then." "Okay," I agreed. Mike and I left work together. We went to the underground parking garage. As Mike drove, he said to me, "So Ava broke it off with Leo, huh? I told you she still cared about you. The moment you get angry, she'd drop him no matter how much she liked him." I just smiled. Maybe. Over the past few days, Leo had called Ava many times. I had seen it. But Ava hadn't answered a single call. Even when I said to her, "Answer it. It might be important." Ava gave me a complicated look, a mix of frustration and sadness. You don't care. I looked at her and shook my head. I don't. I had stopped caring a long time ago. But Ava, right in front of me, blocked Leo's number, as if she had truly changed her mind. At dinner, Mike asked me, "So if she's changed, are you still going to divorce her?" I didn't answer. I looked out the window. The sky was dark, and there were few people on the street. A young man stood under a streetlight. I couldn't see his face, but his tall, slim figure was noticeable. A woman came down from an apartment building and rushed into his arms. The young man lowered his head. The woman tilted hers up, and she gently kissed the corner of his lips. A car passed by them. The headlights flashed on. I saw their faces clearly. It was Ava and Leo. I watched quietly for a moment, then took a picture of everything. Just then my phone buzzed. It was a message from Ava. "Are you done? I'll come pick you up." "No need, I'm not coming back tonight," she replied instantly. "Okay." I looked down. Ava was holding Leo's hand as they walked into the apartment building. Both of them were smiling. In the middle of the night, I was woken up by a notification. It was from Leo. He had sent me a photo. Ava was sleeping soundly on his chest, and his chest was covered in marks from kissing. Sexual, noticeable. A far cry from the cool, distant artist I first met. "Your wife is amazing in bed. She lost interest in you a long time ago. Why are you still clinging on shamelessly and refusing to divorce? Can't you have some dignity?" I saved the photo, thought for a moment, and sent him a transfer for 50 cents. The note read, "For your services." Leo became furious, sending me a flood of messages. I didn't read a single one. Instead, I forwarded the photo to my lawyer. "Evidence of cheating. Get me more of the assets." The lawyer replied instantly, "Don't worry, Mr. Mills." The next morning, when I came downstairs, Ava was already waiting for me at the door. "Good morning, Ethan." She looked refreshed, a satisfied glow on her face from having her desires met. She had brought me breakfast, my old favorites, pan-fried dumplings and soy milk. I ate one or two without paying much attention, giving short answers to her questions. My lack of interest was obvious. After Ava made her fortune, no one had ever been so openly dismissive of her. She looked annoyed. "Ethan, do you really have to treat me this way?" She stopped the car and looked at me, a hint of hurt in her eyes, as if I was the one who had wronged her. But when her eyes met my calm, indifferent gaze, she was speechless. "Then sign the divorce papers. If you can't stand it, then don't." At these words, Ava's face went cold. "Don't even think about it." Her tone was firm. I sighed and leaned back in my seat. It was a sigh of both acceptance and frustration. "Ava, why are you so pathetic? When I loved you, you hurt me. Now that I don't love you, you won't let me go. Truly pathetic, and really annoying." Ava continued to delay, refusing to sign the papers. So we maintained our marriage, but she clung to me tightly. I knew she was trying to keep me from seeing Chloe. But when Chloe couldn't find me, she would come and wait for me at the company entrance. She would hold onto my arm, pouting, asking if I didn't care about her anymore. I would smile and reassure her, "Of course I care." After I managed to get her to leave in front of everyone, I turned around and saw Ava standing far away at the entrance, watching me. I didn't know how much she had seen, but she said nothing, just turned and left the company alone, as if she was sulking. But I didn't care. It was raining today. The weather was a bit chilly, and I went home alone. As soon as I got home, Ava took my hand and led me to the dining room. "Didn't you say you wanted the lamb soup from downtown? I got it for you." Her hand was ice cold. I looked at Ava and realized she was soaked through, her face pale from the cold, but her eyes were full of anticipation and a desire to please. I took one sip and put down the spoon. "It tastes a little strong. You can have it." I turned to leave, but Ava grabbed my wrist. "I went to get this specifically for you because you liked it. It took me 2 hours to find the stall. It was raining, and the stall didn't have an awning, so I had to wait in the rain. But you only take one sip and don't even ask if I'm okay. Ethan, what is wrong with you?" Her fingertips were trembling, her eyes filled with deep confusion. "You never used to be like this." So I met her gaze, my expression open and calm. "I stopped loving you a long time ago. To me, you're a stranger. Do you expect me to fuss over a stranger? You're moved by your own actions, and you expect me to be grateful for it? Isn't that ridiculous?" My words seemed to crush Ava. "How could you not love me? I've already checked. Chloe is just your friend. There's nothing going on between you two. You're just using her to get back at me. You still care about me deep down, don't you, Ethan? JJ, you do love me, right?" She looked up at me, her eyes filled with a fragile hope. But I noticed she was clenching her hands so tightly her knuckles were white, as if my answer was the last thing that would decide her fate. I smiled, then shattered her final hope. "We're just friends for now. Life is long. I'll eventually find someone to spend the rest of my life with." I was afraid of being alone. After my father passed away, I wanted a home of my own more than anyone, so I never planned to spend the rest of my life alone. I would need a partner, a man, a woman, a lover. Any would do. Ava's eyes were bloodshot. She asked me, "Can't it be me?" No. I didn't hesitate. Ignoring Ava's instantly pale face, I smiled, then turned and walked away. I didn't look back. Leo came to see me. Compared to the cool artist I first met, he now had a hint of worldly experience and calculation in his eyes. It made him even more annoying. No wonder Ava couldn't bear to break up with him. Who would want to give up such an overly complimentary person? But I took a light sip of my coffee, smiling calmly, not showing the slightest bit of anger. If she wants a divorce, I'm ready anytime. She's the one who's not willing. But you two are quite a match. One is pathetic, and the other is even more so. Leo's face flushed with anger, his voice sharp. "Ethan, she loves me. You're just an old man." I raised my hand and threw the coffee in his face. I stood up. Looking down at his pathetic, drenched appearance, I said coolly, "Since you're so sure of her love for you, then hurry up and convince her to sign the papers so she stops bothering me. Leo, I'll be waiting for your good news." Unfortunately, Leo was useless. They remained at a standstill. I glanced at the hidden camera and watched the show unfold with cold detachment. It went on until Leo, exhausted, passed out. Ava had him sent to the hospital. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I will handle this," she promised me. I paused for a moment, then laughed. "No need. I don't care." The words hung in the air. The room was silent. Ava looked at me, her eyes dark and intense, like a churning pool of ink, but the corners were a fragile red. "You don't care?" She looked as if my indifference had broken her heart. I stared at her steadily. It wasn't until she instinctively grabbed my wrist that I realized her fingertips were trembling violently. "How can you not care? You're supposed to be in pain. You care so much about family. How can you not be falling apart? Ethan, JJ, please don't look at me like that." Her last words were a plea. In that moment, she seemed to have completely humbled herself, hoping for my pity. But I just found the whole situation messy, and her even messier. Should I care? We're about to get a divorce. Whether you have a child or whose child it is has nothing to do with me anymore. Ava, I really, truly don't love you anymore. Seeing her on the verge of collapsing, I smiled. We've known each other a long time. Let's give each other some respect. Sign the papers. Ava finally signed. She had no choice. Leo had told the media that Ava had a secret love child, and the high society affair became a huge scandal. The stock market fluctuated, and the shareholders were unhappy. Ava didn't want to be sued by me on top of everything else. And with her affair now public knowledge, my lawyer managed to secure the maximum benefit for me: 70% of all assets. My lawyer told me it was actually 60%. The extra 10% was volunteered by Ms. Wilson herself. I smiled and accepted it without argument. The day I walked out of the marriage registration office, it was a rainy day. I seemed to have a strange connection with rainy days. All the major events in my life happened on rainy days. The day we got engaged, the day we got married, the day Ava cheated for the first time, the day I decided to get a divorce, and now the day of the divorce itself. Under the light drizzle, Ava stood beside me and said softly, "Let me give you a ride." I shook my head. "No need. Someone's coming to pick me up." As soon as I said it, Chloe squeezed between us, holding an umbrella. "There you are. It's cold today. You should wear another jacket. You have a sensitive stomach. Don't catch a cold." She talked on and on, draping a coat over my shoulders. I accepted it gracefully. Then I stepped under her umbrella. And just then, the rain suddenly stopped. I looked up. The sun broke through the clouds, clearing the gloomy fog. Sunlight fell gently, warming me from the chill of the rain. I smiled. I turned back, waved at Ava, and said, "Goodbye. The storm has passed. Goodbye to the sadness." Epilogue. The day of the divorce, Ava stood frozen in place. She watched as Ethan and another woman, sharing an umbrella, walked further and further away. She could vaguely hear the girls' cheerful chatter and Ethan's resigned laugh, but his eyes were filled with a light, joyful ease. It was a carefree look she hadn't seen on him in a long time. Actually, she had known for a while that Chloe wasn't Ethan's lover. Ethan couldn't do it. He had tried once, found a girl, and they looked very close. But when Ava saw the girl's face, she stopped caring. Because the girl's eyes and brows looked so much like her own, he couldn't let her go. He could never truly take that step. Sure enough, that ridiculous act ended in less than a month. Ethan never crossed that line again. Once when she was drunk, she told a friend about it. Her friend was stunned for a moment. Then she scoffed. "Maybe he doesn't love you. Maybe he's just not as shameless as you are. Ava, if you keep this up, you're really going to lose Ethan. And when that day comes, don't you dare regret it." What had she said back then? Ava thought for a moment, then remembered. At the time, she had smiled with complete certainty. How could I regret it? Ethan is the one who can't leave me. She thought she didn't love Ethan anymore. After so many years, she was clearly tired of him. But right now, watching Ethan's figure move away, her heart ached as if it were being torn apart, as if she had lost the most important thing in her life. She suddenly wanted to chase after him, but she stopped as soon as she took a step. She knew Ethan would not turn back. He had said it himself. If you like someone, be with them. If you don't, then separate. Ava, I really don't love you anymore. Let's separate. He hadn't lied. He just didn't love her anymore. Not anymore. The rest of his life would be like the sky after the rain, bright and dazzling. And she would be standing in the rain for the rest of her life. But no one cared. No one cared anymore.